Alright, this is Wednesday, November 2013 at 3:13 p.m. and we're just doing some filming with John Gill. This is his blog, johngill2013.com, and there's his latest blog from a couple of days ago. So John, can you tell me what's the latest news? It's been a while since we spoke on camera before, so tell us what's the latest news with your work today, considering that I think your websites that you had before, crookedlawyers.com and ratemysolicitor.com, are not are apparently down.
They are, yes.
But that doesn't stop you putting the truth out.
The reason we're here today actually is because Fatima Gunning, daughter of Eileen Gunning, who is in Mountjoy prison.
Say hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Eileen is in Mountjoy prison on false and fraudulent documentation. And at this stage we can say that 5 Supreme Court judges are involved. We had the case appealed to the Supreme Court of Ireland, and the registrar there, Mary O'Donoghue, falsified documents. The judges decided that they didn't want to hear the case, and with the result that Brian Sherry, who is with his team, Barrister Damien Sheridan and Jessica Hickey, decided that they would bring the case back to the Circuit Court in Bray. So the judge refused to hear the truth in Bray, refused to read our documentation, and we had documented evidence. We gave him 60 pages of documented evidence where Brian Sherry falsified, forged 2 inland revenue documents, falsified and forged 8 site maps of Eileen Gunning's property at Chrysanthemum Cottage, Blackline, Greystones, County Wicklow. She's now in Limerick prison, and on contempt, she refused to leave her property. She refused to let solicitors, like she said herself, she has refused to allow solicitors steal her home. There's no mortgage on the house. The Gunnings have lived in the house for 130, 40 years. And because it's a valuable property, as is typical around Ireland today, a bunch of legal people, solicitors and barristers, supported by judges, have decided that they would falsify the will and probate and do her out of her legal and lawful inheritance. It's as simple as that.
And so
we have the documented evidence. We'll have a book out shortly, and if you watch out for our blog here, you will anyone that's interested in the truth. She's just one of about 6 or 7 that we'll have out before Christmas. We have notified and given the documented evidence to the Minister for Justice, who guaranteed us that, irrespective of profession, that those people will be dealt with by the Gardaí, meaning the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. So we wait the Minister to deal with this subject. All the documented evidence is also with the Garda Commissioner and with the Law Reform Commission, and we visited the Human Rights Commissioner, and you may as well have gone to I don't know where.
Does he not much help?
No help whatsoever. No help whatsoever. Absolutely useless. Paid by the state, or partly paid by the state, to do the state's dirty work. That's the way we see it. The Attorney General won't answer at all. And we have asked them time and again to come into court where a situation like this, where they're I think legally and lawfully obliged to come into court and hear the case on a serious matter such as this. Now we have done 12 years of research, and this is absolute. We have been to the politicians, and we are now hoping to get this matter exposed worldwide on film and television and whatever.
Sure. Now we have Eileen Gunning's daughter Fatima here. Can you tell us about the valuable property, your house in Greystones that is at the centre of this, and your mother, of course, is, as we speak, in Mountjoy prison, apparently. Is that true?
Yeah, my mother, she's 60 years of age, she's a nurse. She's been falsely imprisoned to allow solicitor Brian Sherry of Palmerstown, Dublin, to steal my property, my home, our family home, where our family has lived since the 1800s. It was left to us, like generation down to generation, always been in our family, and they basically decided that because it's worth a lot of money, being, you know, a prime piece of potential real estate development in Greystones, that they wanted, because we're just nobody and they are solicitors, so they've decided that, like, what's ours is theirs, and they've just harassed us, tormented us for 17 years, more than 17 years. 3 years ago they had us evicted from our home. Like, they were evicted from our home where I was born, my mother was born, and my grandparents, that was their wedding home, that's where they've lived since they got married. So for some solicitor to come down from Palmerstown and say that it's now his, and six days after my grandmother died, he went to the land registry in Dublin and tried to have it registered in his name, his own name, Brian Sherry. So it's just blatant. He's just blatantly trying to steal my property, my home, basically.
I see. And
mentioned the forged Inland Revenue High Court Inland Revenue document. Fatima, you have two in High Court Inland Revenue affidavits forged after your grandmother passed away.
He was leaving her over €250,000 after she was dead.
Yeah.
And he was leaving 125,000 to my aunt, who's like 30 years stuck.
Who was leaving?
Brian Sherry.
Oh,
he's the master of the criminal mastermind and all this. Yeah, he was leaving money to my dead grandmother, which I can only assume that he would get then.
It goes back into his pocket, Fatima.
Yeah.
Yes, that too. That I think something around 400,000 goes back into his pocket.
Well, €500,000. He's
Yeah,
defrauding us of €500,000
that's right,
at
yeah.
least.
And you know, he admitted for a long time, for many appearances in court, he claimed that he had a purchaser for the property, that it was sold. He was forced to admit the last day in court, in the Bray Circuit Court, that there was no purchaser for the property.
Yes.
That Eileen Gunning was actually the only beneficiary.
Right.
But he also told the judge, and go to show you how the contempt they have for the ordinary people. He also said that as far as he was concerned, there would be nothing for Eileen Gunning, because it was all gobbled up on court cases, court costs and so on.
Yeah.
So therefore he fell in for the whole of the property. No purchaser, owed no money to anyone, only to the legal system. Now, believe it or not, 19 judges to date have heard this case and have blatantly supported Brian Sherry and Jessica Hickey, who is his partner. Jessica Hickey, solicitor, is a full partner in this crime. And he is the greatest moron of a barrister that you could ever listen to in court. Had Michael McDougall been re-elected, all of this thing would have been sorted out. There's no complaints mechanism. You can't do anything about it. The judge can do whatever he likes. Michael McDougall said once that all you needed is the order of what is, really a corrupt judge, and mum is the word. You go on, you're free to do whatever you wish. There is no recourse to to anyone. Fortunately, I took these people on some 12 years ago, and I have them seriously exposed. And I'm hoping to get about a dozen cases across to the United States. I got an email recently from London to ask me to get these books across to England, to London, to a company who will get this message across Europe. Because so many people have phoned me from England, and they said England and Europe are well aware that Ireland is so corrupt. The Revenue Commissioner did say to me there 2 years ago that for a small country we are the most corrupt in the world. And there's no question about that. I have infiltrated them, and the judges are actually part and parcel. If it weren't for the poor quality judiciary, you know, a lot of these cases would never be in court. They would never be in court if we had judges. They are not judges. Those people are, you know, initially they were promoted by politicians, cronies of politicians who paid money into the coffers of politicians and who got promoted. They were, in other words, they were crooks before ever they were promoted. So what I would ask everyone to do is to watch out for our books, for the documented evidence. Bear in mind that Eileen Gunning is in Mountjoy prison. I have written to the governors of the prison and I have given them a lot of evidence, and I've given them the documented evidence of the forgeries of the Inland Revenue affidavits and the forgeries of the 8 site maps of Eileen Gunning's and Fatima's property. I mean, it's as clear as the nose on their face. But the detectives did say to me that they're worried now because we have destroyed their Corsic Hotel. We have it shattered, and shattered it will remain, because Eileen Gunning will not purge her contempt, and the world will know that she was sent to prison by a judge who would not entertain the truth, would not read this. Whether he read it or not, we don't know, but he had the documented evidence, and he only entertained the corrupt evidence of Brian Sherry, Jessica Hickey, and barrister, what's his name? Damien Sheridan. So that is the story. And the world is going to hear an awful lot more about this and about a lot of other cases throughout the island of Ireland. This case began with the greatest crook on the bench today, and that is Judge John O'Hagan, who was a Fianna Fáil member for County Meath. And he was on television every time that we expose him in the media and expose him on blogs. He appears on television in a sensational case like he did the other day with Tregardy from Letterkenny Circuit Court, to give him a morale boost. Wouldn't surprise us if he'd be a judge on the new court system that's been set up next year. But we will see that they will know all about him, and then it's up to the politicians, whoever be in power, to either get rid of him or make him a judge on a higher court.
Right.
Yes.
And can I ask Fatima, so your mom is in jail for contempt, and
Yeah.
have you been, what about the house? Is that gone from you?
No, I live there. It's my
you
home,
still-
and I'll
okay.
continue to live there unless they want to throw me in too. I was
Right.
threatened by Judge John Mahon. He threatened the what's his name, John Mahon, isn't it?
Judge Alan Mahon
Mahon,
threatened
excuse
to
me.
put Fatima to prison with Eileen if she stopped telling the court the truth. She was prevented from telling the truth. And, you know, he ordered her, he got the Garda Síochána to take her away out of the court because they did not want to hear the truth.
Right.
Fatima told the court that she was not going to leave her home.
Right. Okay, thank you very much, Fatima, and I hope your mom is freed soon, and John, thank you also.
You're very welcome, sir.